Two masters, one battlefield. Business has always been a battlefield. The weapons have changed. Instead of swords, we use contracts. Instead of armies, we build companies. Instead of castles, we fight over markets, customers, influence, and reputation. But the nature of human beings has remained remarkably the same. People still seek power. People still fear loss. People still envy success. People still admire confidence. People still follow strength. This is why two men who lived more than 1,000 years apart continue to influence leaders today. One was a Roman emperor who spent his nights writing private reflections about virtue, discipline, and self-control. The other was a Renaissance political thinker who stripped away comforting illusions and described the world as it actually works. Marcus Aurelius believed that a man should first conquer himself before attempting to lead others. Niccolò Machiavelli believed that a leader who ignores reality will eventually be defeated by someone who understands it. At first glance, they appear to be complete opposites. One speaks about virtue. The other speaks about power. One teaches peace of mind. The other teaches survival. Yet successful entrepreneurs often discover that business demands both perspectives. Without Marcus Aurelius, success can corrupt your character. Without Machiavelli, idealism can leave you vulnerable to manipulation. The greatest leaders are rarely naive. They understand competition without becoming consumed by it. They recognize human weakness without surrendering their own integrity. This is the balance every entrepreneur must learn. Because business is not merely about making money. It is about making decisions when information is incomplete. It is about remaining calm while competitors panic. It is about refusing to let praise inflate your ego or criticism destroy your confidence. It is about understanding people well enough to lead them without exploiting them. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that no external victory matters if we lose command of ourselves. Machiavelli reminds us that good intentions alone do not guarantee success. Together they reveal a powerful truth. Character wins the long game. Strategy wins today's battle. And neither should exist without the other. Imagine two business owners launching identical companies. The first is honest, disciplined, hard-working, and genuinely cares about customers. But he assumes everyone else shares his values. He trusts too quickly. He ignores office politics. He believes quality alone guarantees success. Eventually, competitors imitate his ideas, partners take advantage of his generosity, and less ethical rivals outmaneuver him. Now consider the second entrepreneur. She understands negotiation. She studies psychology. She protects confidential information. She builds strategic alliances. She anticipates competitors' moves before they happen. Yet she refuses to lie, exploit, or betray her principles. She combines the inner strength of Marcus Aurelius with the strategic awareness described by Machiavelli. That combination becomes difficult to defeat. Many people misunderstand Stoicism. They imagine a Stoic simply accepting whatever happens. Marcus Aurelius never taught passivity. He taught disciplined action focused on what lies within our control. Likewise, many misunderstand Machiavelli. They assume he encouraged cruelty for its own sake. In reality, much of his writing describes how power operates in the real world. Whether one agrees with all of his conclusions is another matter. For modern business leaders, the lesson is not to imitate every tactic Machiavelli described. The lesson is to recognize reality while allowing virtue, not fear or greed, to determine how you respond. Every negotiation tests your emotional discipline. Every hiring decision tests your judgment. Every financial setback tests your resilience. Every success tests your humility. The market rewards competence, but life rewards character. History remembers both. Over the next chapters, we will explore how the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the strategic observations of Machiavelli can help entrepreneurs build businesses that are not only profitable but also resilient, respected, and guided by purpose. Because in business, your greatest competitor is rarely another company. It is your own impatience, your own ego, your own fear. Master those first, and every external challenge becomes easier to face. This is where the true art of business begins. Chapter 1. Rule yourself before you lead others. Marcus Aurelius's first law of business. Before Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire stretching across 3 continents, he understood a truth that many entrepreneurs discover only after years of struggle. The hardest person to lead is yourself. It is tempting to believe that success depends on finding the perfect business idea, raising more capital, hiring exceptional employees, or discovering an untapped market. These things matter. But Marcus Aurelius would argue that none of them matter if the person making the decisions lacks discipline. Every business rises or falls according to the quality of its leadership, and every leader rises or falls according to the quality of their character. Marcus never wrote business books. He never studied modern economics or entrepreneurship. Yet his private journal, later known as Meditations, reveals principles that are surprisingly relevant to anyone trying to build something meaningful. He constantly reminded himself that external events are uncertain, but his response to those events always remained his responsibility. That idea changes everything. Imagine waking up to discover that your biggest client has cancelled their contract. An ordinary entrepreneur reacts with panic. They blame the economy. They blame competitors. They blame luck. Their emotions dictate their actions. But a Stoic entrepreneur pauses. They ask a different question. What is within my control right now? They cannot control the client's decision. They cannot reverse yesterday, but they can control today's effort. They can improve their product. They can contact new prospects. They can strengthen their marketing. They can learn from the mistake instead of becoming trapped by it. This is emotional leadership. And emotional leadership always comes before organizational leadership. Most businesses fail long before the financial statements reveal it. They fail internally. The founder becomes distracted. The discipline disappears. Standards begin to fall. Small compromises become daily habits. Meetings lose purpose. Promises are delayed. Excuses become normal. Eventually, the business reflects the character of its leader. Marcus Aurelius understood this pattern because he saw it throughout the Roman Empire. He knew that civilizations collapse the same way individuals do, not through one dramatic moment, but through countless neglected disciplines. Business works the same way. A company is simply the daily habits of its people multiplied over time. That multiplication always begins with the founder. Your employees watch more than they listen. If you demand punctuality while arriving late, they notice. If you preach excellence while accepting mediocrity, they notice. If you encourage honesty while avoiding difficult conversations, they notice. Leadership is contagious. So is hypocrisy. Marcus never asked others to practice virtues he refused to practice himself. That is why his influence has survived nearly 2,000 years. People follow consistency before they follow charisma. Modern culture celebrates motivation. Marcus Aurelius celebrated discipline. Motivation depends on emotion. Discipline depends on principle. One disappears when circumstances become difficult. The other grows stronger. Every entrepreneur experiences mornings when inspiration is absent. Sales are declining. Bills are increasing. Competitors seem unstoppable. Those are the days discipline matters most. Anyone can work enthusiastically when profits are rising. Real leaders continue working when results are invisible. This is where Marcus and Machiavelli quietly agree. Although they approached leadership from different perspectives, both understood that successful leaders cannot afford to be ruled by emotion. Machiavelli observed that indecisive rulers often lose power because they hesitate when decisive action is required. Marcus believed hesitation often comes from fear, anger, pride, or attachment to outcomes beyond our control. Different explanations, the same warning: master your emotions, or they will master your business. Self-control also protects entrepreneurs from one of the most dangerous enemies in business: ego. Success creates a powerful illusion. One profitable year convinces people they are geniuses. One viral product convinces them they cannot fail. One successful investment convinces them they understand every market. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that fame is temporary. Praise is temporary. Wealth is temporary. Power is temporary. This perspective protected him from becoming intoxicated by success. Modern entrepreneurs need the same reminder. The market rewards humility because humble leaders keep learning. Arrogant leaders stop listening. They ignore feedback. They dismiss criticism. They underestimate competitors. Eventually, reality corrects them. Reality always wins. Marcus Aurelius would encourage every business owner to begin each day with a simple examination. Ask yourself, can I control today's market? No. Can I control customer opinions? Not entirely. Can I control global events? No. Can I control my preparation? Yes. Can I control my honesty? Yes. Can I control my discipline? Yes. Can I control the quality of today's decisions? Absolutely. That is where power begins. Not in the stock market, not in social media, not in the approval of strangers, but in the quiet decision to govern yourself before attempting to govern anything else. Because a company rarely becomes more disciplined than its founder. A team rarely becomes more honest than its leader. A culture rarely becomes stronger than the values practiced at the top. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that leadership is never granted by a title alone. It is earned every day through self-command. Before you negotiate with clients, negotiate with your own impulses. Before you conquer a market, conquer your habits. Before you seek influence over others, establish authority over yourself. That is the first law of business. Every lasting empire, whether Roman or corporate, is built from the inside out. Chapter 2. See the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. There is a dangerous belief that destroys more businesses than recessions ever could. It is the belief that the world should reward good intentions. Many entrepreneurs begin their journey convinced that if they create an excellent product, work harder than everyone else, and treat people fairly, success will naturally follow. Sometimes it does, often it doesn't. This is where Niccolo Machiavelli enters the conversation. If Marcus Aurelius teaches us to master ourselves, Machiavelli teaches us to understand the world without illusion. He did not write about the world as people wished it to be. He wrote about the world as he observed it, full of ambition, fear, loyalty, betrayal, opportunity, and changing fortunes. Whether or not you agree with every conclusion he reached, one lesson remains valuable for every entrepreneur. Reality is always a better teacher than wishful thinking. Many businesses fail because their owners fall in love with an idea instead of paying attention to the market. They assume customers want what they have built. They assume employees are motivated by the same things they are. They assume competitors will play by the same rules. Assumptions are comforting. Reality is profitable. Marcus Aurelius would not disagree with this. In fact, Stoicism begins by accepting reality rather than resisting it. The difference lies in what comes next. Machiavelli asks, given reality, what strategy gives you the greatest chance of success? Marcus Aurelius asks, given reality, how can you respond with wisdom and virtue? Together, these questions create a powerful framework. One keeps you effective, the other keeps you honorable. Imagine launching a new company. You spend months perfecting your product. You believe customers will instantly recognize its value. Then the launch fails. Sales barely move. The temptation is to blame the audience. They don't understand quality. They only care about cheap products. The market isn't ready. Machiavelli would likely tell you to stop complaining and start observing. What do customers actually want? What are they buying instead? Why are they choosing your competitor? What problem are they trying to solve? The entrepreneur who studies reality improves. The entrepreneur who argues with reality disappears. Business rewards adaptation. Nature has always worked this way. The strongest species are not necessarily the biggest or the smartest. They are often the ones that adapt most effectively to changing conditions. Companies are no different. Markets evolve. Technology changes. Consumer habits shift. Economic cycles rise and fall. Leaders who refuse to adapt eventually become examples rather than competitors. Marcus Aurelius accepted change as one of life's permanent laws. He reminded himself that everything exists in a state of transformation. Nothing remains fixed forever. The wise entrepreneur, therefore, welcomes change instead of fearing it. Machiavelli would add another layer. He would say that timing matters. A brilliant strategy introduced too late often fails. A mediocre strategy introduced at exactly the right moment can succeed beyond expectations. History repeatedly proves this. Businesses that recognize change early gain an enormous advantage. Those that deny change spend years trying to recover. Another lesson Machiavelli offers is the importance of perception. This is frequently misunderstood. Perception is not the same as deception. Perception is the reputation people build about you through every interaction. Customers decide whether they trust your brand. Investors decide whether they believe in your leadership. Employees decide whether they see confidence or confusion. These judgments influence decisions long before people examine the facts in detail. Marcus Aurelius would caution against becoming obsessed with public approval. He believed your character should never depend on the opinions of strangers. That wisdom still applies. But there is another truth. While you should not depend on reputation for your self-worth, your business depends on earning trust. Trust is built through consistent actions, promises kept, products delivered, mistakes acknowledged, standards maintained. This is where Stoic integrity strengthens Machiavellian strategy. Strategy may attract attention. Character keeps it. Many entrepreneurs confuse optimism with realism. Optimism says everything will work out. Realism says problems will arise, so prepare for them. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He reminded himself that he would encounter difficult people, unexpected setbacks, and disappointing events. Not because he was pessimistic, because preparation reduces panic. Business leaders should adopt the same mindset. Expect competitors, expect criticism, expect economic uncertainty, expect failed experiments, expect difficult negotiations, then build systems capable of surviving those realities. Hope is not a business strategy. Preparation is. One of the greatest competitive advantages in business is the willingness to face uncomfortable truths before everyone else. If your product has flaws, admit them. If your marketing is ineffective, improve it. If your leadership needs work, develop it. Reality ignored becomes crisis. Reality accepted becomes opportunity. Marcus Aurelius reminds us not to resent reality. Machiavelli reminds us not to underestimate it. The entrepreneur who combines both lessons becomes remarkably resilient. They do not waste energy wishing the market were different. They study it. They do not complain about competition. They learn from it. They do not fear change. They prepare for it, because the world does not reward those who see what they hope to see. It rewards those who see clearly, think carefully, act decisively, and remain anchored by principles even when circumstances become uncertain. That is the art of business, not denying reality, not surrendering to it, but understanding it well enough to shape your future without losing yourself in the process. Conclusion: become the leader who cannot be easily defeated. The marketplace is crowded with people chasing wealth. Few are chasing wisdom. Every year new businesses are launched. New products appear. New technologies promise to change the world. Fortunes are made and fortunes disappear. Yet beneath all the noise, one truth remains unchanged. Business is ultimately a test of character. Money magnifies who you already are. Power reveals what you truly value. Success exposes the habits you practiced long before anyone was watching. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He knew that no amount of external success could compensate for an undisciplined mind. A leader who cannot govern their own emotions will eventually struggle to govern an organization. Machiavelli observed another reality. The world is competitive. People pursue their own interests. Circumstances change without warning. A leader who ignores these realities risks being outmaneuvered by those who see them clearly. Neither perspective is complete on its own. Strategy without virtue becomes manipulation. Virtue without strategy can become naivete. The strongest leaders cultivate both: the moral discipline to choose the right course and the practical wisdom to navigate the world as it is. That does not mean adopting every tactic Machiavelli described. Some of his observations describe political behavior rather than prescribe ethical conduct. Instead, learn from his realism while allowing your principles to determine your actions. This balance creates a different kind of entrepreneur, one who stays calm when competitors panic, one who negotiates firmly without abandoning integrity, one who studies human nature without becoming cynical, one who protects the business without sacrificing the values that make it worth building. There will always be competitors with more money. There will always be someone with better connections, someone with a larger audience, someone who seems to move faster. Do not measure your progress against theirs. Marcus Aurelius would remind you that your task is to become better than the person you were yesterday. Focus on the quality of your decisions. Focus on your discipline. Focus on serving customers with excellence. Focus on keeping your word, especially when it is inconvenient. That is the foundation of lasting influence. At the same time, never mistake kindness for carelessness. Protect your ideas. Read contracts carefully. Choose partners with patience. Observe more than you speak. Understand incentives. Think several moves ahead. Preparation is not paranoia. It is responsible leadership. The entrepreneurs who endure are rarely those who make one brilliant decision. They are those who make thousands of sound decisions, day after day, year after year. They do not chase every trend. They do not abandon their principles for quick profits. They do not allow praise to inflate them or criticism to define them. They remain steady. That steadiness becomes their advantage. Remember that every business you build reflects the person you become. If you cultivate discipline, your company becomes disciplined. If you cultivate honesty, trust begins to spread through your organization. If you cultivate resilience, setbacks become lessons instead of endings. Your business is more than a source of income. It is a mirror. It reflects your habits, your priorities, your standards, and your vision. Guard those carefully, because markets will change, technology will evolve, economic conditions will rise and fall, customers will come and go. But a leader grounded in self-mastery, guided by principle, and sharpened by clear-eyed strategy can adapt without losing direction. That is the enduring lesson we can draw from Marcus Aurelius and Machiavelli. Master yourself before you seek to master the market. Face reality without surrendering your integrity. Win trust before you seek influence. Build patiently instead of chasing shortcuts. And remember that the greatest victory is not simply building a profitable company. It is becoming the kind of person who can carry success without being consumed by it. When wealth comes, let it become a tool, not your identity. When power comes, let it become a responsibility, not an excuse. When adversity comes, let it become a teacher, not a prison. In the end, empires are not built in a single day. Neither are extraordinary businesses. They are built through disciplined choices, strategic thinking, unwavering integrity, and the quiet determination to improve every day. That is the art of business. That is the strength of Stoic leadership. And that is a legacy no market crash, competitor, or passing trend can ever take away.